Hello. Let's talk about the future, about the technology trends and what's in front of us. And whenever I want to talk about the future, I really like to start with something. And I have chosen this picture, and you might be surprised why I am showing this picture when talking about the future of technologies. But let me explain. This is Father Paolo Benanti, and his role officially is Head of Artificial Intelligence in Vatican. Now you would think, why in the Vatican they have, an AI department? And actually it's very interesting, because if you talk to this man, he says that they have been talking with Pope about AI quite often, but they never thought they really need to solve it somehow, because it's church, right? But then something started to happen. Well, the first thing was that in Germany there was a mass that was fully created by AI. The text was written by AI, and it was presented by AI-generated avatar, a virtual priest. So now, as Paolo said, they were talking with Pope and saying, "Oh, what should we do about it? Should we, endorse it? Should we be quiet, or should we forbid it? Because it's dangerous, right?" But it got even worse. You can download an app that is called, or that's named, Talk to Jesus. And it's basically a chatbot, and you can chat with the Jesus. It's powered by AI. And it gets even further, because if you pay $3 a month, you can also talk to all the apostles. So now, this is starting to be dangerous, right? Because people can't really differentiate if it is real or not, if it is AI. And since it pretends to be speaking like someone, people might start to think that they are really talking to God, and they might take the hint seriously. So now, what should Vatican do with it? And well, the reason I'm telling you this story is because we thought that maybe for our business, AI is nice, but it's not going to change the way how we work and what we do that much. I mean, it will help somehow, but it's not a transformation. But now you see a church, something that you would say it's been here for 1,000 years. How much can it change? And you see that it's changing even things like this. So there's something that should make us think about ourselves a lot. So I am Jan Antos. I'm CTO at Trask, an IT technology and consulting company. And I will be talking about top technology trends that we see and that we should follow in next years. So what's the top trend? I mean, it's obvious. It's artificial intelligence, no doubt about that. But there are some other small things, hiding behind the shadows, because AI, it's like at the peak of inflated expectations. We think that we might not need to think in the future, that AI will do everything for us and that we will just sit back and watch something. But it's not true, obviously. There is going to be a big disillusionment. But let's look on these other small trends that someone else is maybe overlooking, or that they don't have that much attention. And what are these? You might not be even able to read it. So it is something that I call major forces. And the difference between the trend and the force is that with the trend, you can choose if you are going to follow it, but with the force, you are basically forced to do it. And these three forces that are shaping how we see the enterprise IT and what we do as people that are occupying ourselves with the technology, it's these three. It's application modernization, democratization of digital delivery, and never-ending acquisition of new technologies. So let's have a look on these three. So first, application modernization. If you think and look back in the past, I think, and at the projects and initiatives that are happening in the companies nowadays, I think it's fair to say that this is the time that the modernization initiatives are the biggest in the past, 10, 20 years. I mean, never before we were modernizing that many systems in parallel and changing the architecture and the systems and what we do with the technology and how we use it. And why is that? What's the reason behind it? It's a lot of things together. It's all connected. It's not like one single, thing that is forcing you to modernize, but it's these. It's the, evolution of cloud. Cloud used to be an infrastructure, elastic infrastructure, but it's not that anymore. The cloud is bringing new possibilities for applications. There's a lot of software solutions that are not available outside of cloud. You can't install it on-prem. You have to use it as a software. And then comes the serverless and cloud native and these things that really force you to change the architecture of the applications to be able to get the benefits that you could not get anymore on-prem. AI is one of these things as well. And I will talk about it a little bit more. It's the democratization of digital delivery. It means who is creating the applications, who is managing them, who's operating them, and what they are used for. It's the data democratization and data modernization as well. And I think this is a good example why when I'm talking about modernization, it's not just replacing the old application X for new application Z from a different vendor with a little better technology stack. It's about complete shift of what and how we actually work with that specific thing. And data is a good example. Because if you would say data modernization, it's not replacing your, let's say, Teradata data warehouse with a new technology for a data warehouse. It's replacing data warehouse for data lakes, data lake house, and not even one centralized, because we are talking about data as a product, data mesh, and data fabric. We are talking about fast data, event streaming, and all these technologies. And this combined is actually the modernized version of data warehouse. So it's not really replacing one thing for another, but it's building something completely new that was not possible before. Now then comes the automation, which is completely changing the life cycles of the technology and how we do it. We don't do like 2 releases a year anymore. We have a continuous release. We have full automation, and once we have full automation, we can introduce new controls and new checks, and we can do things we couldn't do before. And of course, with the legacy applications, you can't really do this. So this is also forcing you to modernize. And then comes the AI. I will talk about AI later on. But basically, what AI brings in is, again, something that is really changing how we work with IT, because it's ever-changing, right? If it is learning in the production, you can't really test it because it's changing itself. It's replying with different things today than it was yesterday or even a second ago. So you need to have a new architectures, new type of components, new operations, and new type of interfaces. So it's really forcing you to change the way how you use applications. And when all of these comes together, it's the reason for this massive wave of modernization. I have one example here how the applications are evolving, which is also a good thing to think about it. And in the past, when you were thinking about the cloud, you used to say that there was infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. But what's happening now is, as we look on this middle category, it's actually splitting into two. We are having platforms that are basically engineering in nature. Database as a service would be one example, like Oracle as a service or something like that. And then you have the platforms that are more business-oriented, and they are basically giving you some business features on top of which you are building the business solution. So it's not software as a service because it's not a packaged thing that you use as it is, but you build it yourself. And good example of this business technology platforms, I have some logos here, but let's say Salesforce. In the past, when you deployed the CRM solution, you basically took something from some vendor and maybe you customized it somehow, you changed something, you installed it, and then you started to use it. But nowadays, if you take Salesforce, you take it as a platform, and you then build the solution on top of it. And basically, the thing that you are using is completely different. It's something different than what you actually have bought or what Salesforce has provided. So you are building new things on top of these platforms, and this is the big difference, basically, in what we understand under the term of application. Because in the past, application was fixed. Software as a service comes to that way. But these platforms, it's a bit different. And if we think about the processes and in the company, how we develop software, how we manage the software, how we operate it, in this setup, it's going to be a little different than managing, a discrete set of pretty much fixed applications. So this is one example of these technology platforms or business technology platforms. And this comes from the application vendors. But there are also, I would say the former platform providers, the technology platform providers, and they are also coming up with their solutions to be a business technology platform. So they mostly do it through alliances or through acquisitions or cooperations and other things. But it's going to be interesting to see the battle of these two groups, who will win in providing, the most of this business technology platform, because they both need it for their success in the future. Another interesting thing how to look at the changing way how we build applications is this. It's about components and composable architecture and how we combine these together to build the end solutions. So on the bottom, you have components, and these components can be your, legacy applications. It can be custom-built components built by central IT or some agile teams outside of IT. It can be, cloud-provided applications. It can be things, distributed from your partners. It can be something prepackaged. It can be even data products. But you have a lot of things from which you can build, and then you have different tools that allow you to combine these things. We used to talk in the past about, for example, the business process management tools that are enabling you to combine these things together, or ESBs. But now, if you talk about low-code is basically a composition platform, right? We are composing different things from either the components that you have in that low-code platform, or by calling the systems through APIs, the backend systems. You have digital experience platforms that help you to compose things for the front end, for the digital channels. Integration platforms, working with the data. Generative AI, or AI in general, is basically also composing things from through the APIs that you provide to it. But in order for these to work, and for the teams that are actually creating this composition technology or this compose technology, for them to be productive, they need to know which components they have. They need to get some library of the components so they can choose and use it, and they don't need to develop it themselves. And this is something that it's not still solved, and we will have to solve it in coming years, because nowadays you have some catalogs or libraries of these components, but they are isolated. I mean, if you work with some low-code platform, you will have a library of the components in that platform. If you work with some cloud, you get a cloud marketplace with the list of things available there. Inside of the company, you might have, a developer's portal that lists the APIs that are available over your backend systems. There's a whole set of different type of these catalogs, and the question is how to combine this together so that you can provide it to that one team that is going to assemble them all together. We don't know yet. It will be maybe some federalization, maybe some integration. I don't know, but we will have to solve it, and this will again change the role what the internal IT or central IT in companies is providing, because this is the role that they will have to play. I have an example here how you can work with these components. That it's not a purely technological thing, but it can also help you a lot with extending your business. I have an example of Kroger here, and basically Kroger, for those of you who don't know, it's a grocery store. Basically, what they started to do is they have started to build the component that used in their own websites, in their own channels, but they found that these components can be used much broader. And they created these two types of components, nutrition facts components and recipes. And they suddenly realized that if they give these components outside their partners, like nutrition fact sites and lifestyle sites and others, if these components are good and have a good content, all their partners would use it. And what actually happened is that it became so popular that people started to see Kroger not only as a store, but basically as a category. So if they want to know something about food, they go to Kroger. So this really extended the impact that they can make and attract the customers. What they also did is, because they invested into digital technology inside of their stores, like having this digital labels with the prices and other things for the digital shelf management and logistics, they took these components and they said, okay, maybe we can offer it to someone else who's struggling with it or is much smaller and they cannot afford it. And we will basically provide this technology to them and help to monetize it for us and get back some of the investments we made. And they created these offerings. And they basically, here we come to something that we call retail as a service, industry cloud. And this word industry cloud is important because this is a big trend that I see that will come, and we will have to work with it because it's a great opportunity for us. So what is the industry cloud? Industry cloud is basically a pre-assembled set of applications, tools, components, and other things that are prepared for your industry. So it's not a general software or component that you have to integrate yourself, but it's already pre-integrated. And the processes that you solve the most often are already there. And whenever I talk about this, people come to me, after the presentation, and they ask me, "Well, you talk about these industry clouds, but how would it work? Wouldn't it be that all the companies are the same if they, all use the same pre-integrated things, pre-integrated processes, and everything?" And well, my response is that no, because every company has a CRM, but the customer experience of that company with the customer is different, right? It's how you set it up, how you use it, what you promote. And if you look at how the industry clouds are created, you can see different layers. You can see the engineering technology platform. That was the thing I talked already about. On top of it, you have some business technology platforms. And then you have, this is the core of the industry cloud, you have something like industry personalities, where you pre-integrate and assemble and configure these things so that they do the industry processes. But this doesn't end. It's not the end. Then you have basically enterprise compositions. So you take this prepared processes that might be the same for different companies, and basically you configure it to suit your needs. You integrate it with your other applications. You create your own products in it, your own customer experience in it. And this is something we call the enterprise composition, or enterprise personality, because this is the industry personality, this is the enterprise personality. So this is the way how we will not end up everyone with the same thing. When we talk about industry clouds, company Gartner says that it's going to be a really big trend, and that pretty soon, in 4 years, half of the companies will use industry cloud platforms. So it's from almost zero nowadays. This is going to be big, and that it's the trend that is often overlooked. And the question is, why do we think that the impact will be that big? And the answer is that industry cloud is basically hiding the complexity from us. As the world is getting more and more complex, it's harder and harder for enterprise IT to implement all legislation changes, all approaches and things that the global competition has invented, and they have to also have it not to fall behind. And So it's not really manageable to keep up with everything on your own. So you are looking for someone that will do it for you. And this industry cloud abstraction is basically the answer to this. And it's very similar to, in the past, we used to have Windows computers and we used to have, smartphones. But when my old grandmothers wanted to learn internet, we said, oh, we are not going to buy you a computer because it's too complex and I will spend, every second evening there fixing it for you. We will get you an iPad because iPad is simple. You cannot really screw many things there. And it's the simplification of things. And this is the same with the industry clouds. Even for companies, it will be simplifications because it will have, already implemented compliance processes that are relevant for your industry in that given geography. It will have ready-to-use functionalities that are always evolving, and that's important. The continuous improvement and the continuous development of new standards and requirements that are being there. So you can really focus on what differentiates you instead of implementing things that everybody else has to implement. So that's the reason why I think the industry cloud is going to be think of the future. It's also going to be dangerous because once you do it, it will be very easy to cross boundaries between industries. I mean, if you are a company, I don't know, whatever you do, and you would like to provide, for example, an insurance as a part of your offering, I mean, would you implement an insurance core system to really, create an insurance product in it? No, you will not. You might form some alliance with some insurance company and, sell these things together. But when the industry cloud comes, suddenly you can get that the whole core system and all the processes from it very easily. No big, implementation project or nothing. You just use it. It's there. I mean, of course, you have to do some integration, some configuration, but it's way, way, way simpler than in before. So it's much easier for any company to develop an insurance product, which is going to push the insurance companies a lot because they might lose some markets. And it can happen with other industries as well. So the competition will get much fiercer due to this. So you really start looking at what these industry clouds are offering. And I have here some interesting picture, which is basically showing the size of the offerings for each industry. So we can see that nowadays, the most offerings for the industry clouds are in the manufacturing industry. It's actually where it really started in the very beginning. And I don't know, it's been like 12 years ago that we started, to implement first type of these, industry cloud solutions in a manufacturing process in Volkswagen and Skoda. But it's spreading to other industries. You can see, for example, that banking is quite large. Insurance is still smaller, so this will have to develop in the future. And what is also interesting is why different industries are using industry clouds. And you can see that the benefit basically, I mean, there are all types of benefits, but the main benefit is a little bit different. In manufacturing, it's basically automation because you have a lot of things prepared and pre-integrated, and you can read the data and work with the data in the manufacturing process. So this is something of a great value to manufacturing companies. You can see that in banking, it's mostly about compliance because you have the compliance processes being done, especially if you are a multinational company, global company, and you have to deal with different markets and different jurisdictions and regulations. This is something that will be very handy to you. And the last thought in this section about appearance of cloud is actually the notion of digital twin of customer. And you might think, well, digital twin of customer, I know what it is. We are doing it in our company. It's basically, collecting all the data about our customers in one place, so I can see what the customer is doing, what he wanted yesterday when the customer called, etc. But so why is it in this section and when talking about cloud. And when I think about the digital twin of customer, I'm not thinking about that, data entity in your organization. I'm really thinking about my twin that is in a digital world. So wherever I walk in the digital world, there is something like a shadow coming behind me, and it's basically my data and behaviors. And it's already happening, especially in the marketing and websites, right? If you go and you would like to buy a new bicycle, so you go to a store, look on some bicycles, and then for next 2 weeks you are bombarded with the bicycle commercials on every site that you go to. And even though you already bought that bicycle, but that's actually showing that the digital twin is not complete. It has still some issues to solve, because in this case Google, who's running this ad system, the Google doesn't know that you already bought that bicycle. So he's still offering you more and more commercials and banners on this topic. So if that digital twin will be better, it will be actually better for me, because I will get less annoying banners. So, but that's happening on the web page nowadays. And I think that in the future, as the technology and connectivity and all the things is permeating also the physical spaces, physical stores, and your car and your smartphone and your smart TV and your appliances that you have at home, that in the future you will have this digital twin that will go with you through all of these places, physical, digital, home, car, everywhere, and it will be one entity shared by companies and accessed by different companies. And it will be good for us, I think. I mean, we are maybe far away from that, and cloud will definitely play a key role in this. And there is legislations like GDPR and other things, but it's not a roadblocker. I think everything can be solved, as you can see with that ad system from Google now. And so this is the future. This is the future of how our data about me will work in the world. Let's go to the second big trend, and it's democratizing digital delivery. And this is, I would say, a trend that's been around for a few years. So I added here something which is really important, and it's doing it by design. And why? Okay, let's have a look and let's explain. I have first to explain for those of you that are new to term democratizing technology access and these things, what it really means. And I have an example here from the Heathrow Airport in London. If you go to an airport, you have to pass these security checks that these security guys will scan you, will scan your bags and other things if you're not carrying something dangerous. And I mean, in Heathrow Airport, I have heard that they have like 100 of these security lines. And sometimes happen that people that come to these lines, they don't speak English, and the personnel cannot speak with them in their own language. So they have something like a translation book that they use, to look up things if they really need to explain something. And of course, it takes a lot of time and it's very slow. And they have all the phrases and sentences that they should use with the people to explain things. And one of these security guys was told that they have Microsoft Power Apps applications available as part of the Microsoft Office, and he started to play with it. And what he did in a few evenings, in his own time, in his personal time, is that he actually built an application for his phone that actually automated all of these translations and instructions in all of these languages. And he basically, switched that book into that app. And he did it for himself. And, all the colleagues saw it and said, well, it's great, give me the application. And so they started to use it. And it really speeded up the whole process of security checks. So the Heathrow then, took it as a, central IT took it, started to manage it and offer it to all the security lines and everything. And it's why I'm talking about this, because this is probably the last guy that you would expect in your company to create software, to create a digital delivery. But it's possible. Everyone can do it. not only the central IT that will develop software, but it's anyone in the company. I mean, this is maybe extreme. It probably won't happen that often, but it's a good example of what is possible. And so you probably are aware of this, and you can see it in your company. And this is very interesting data showing how far the companies are in this democratization. How many of the employees of business departments are now creating some digital technology, some IT systems. And not only creating, but they are managing it, planning it, and they are even operating it instead of central IT. And it's quite interesting to see that the majority of companies is here. So you can see that up to 1/4 of all business employees is actually producing the digital technology. And in the future, I think it will move here. It won't end up here, of course, but I think it will end up somewhere here, the peak. But it's not easy, and I have an anti-case study here, I would say, for how not to do it. And I will not give you the logo and the name of the company, but there is a company, a European one, and they have like, I don't know, 10,000 employees, and their CIO said, okay, let's do this democratization, let's open the possibility to create software for anyone in the company, anyone who wants. And out of those 10,000 employees, basically 1,000 enrolled in this program and started to create applications and everything. And in the beginning, it seemed like a great success. There were so many new applications, so many things automated at once. But they had to stop the program in 9 months. Why? Well, because a lot of things started to happen. They had really to put the stop on it. And what happened? A lot of things. Suddenly all the data was fragmented. So you couldn't find one version of truth, and different departments were keeping their own piece of data, and you couldn't build the whole picture. All the applications look different because there was no common design language, and if it is internal applications, okay, well, but if it is customer-facing application, that's a real problem. The biggest issue was that the people that were not originally IT experts, they don't have that ability to imagine what might go wrong and what to prevent. So the applications were having outages, and they were having the security risk, and they were not. It was very hard to manage it because they were not used to create the applications. Of course, there were a lot of functionality duplicated, and overall it was a big chaos. So they really had to stop it. They started to manage the program. In the end, instead of 1,000 people developing applications, they ended up with 200 that they could manage. But what it really did is that for those 800 that they wanted to create applications and they were refused it, which is really not doing a good mood in the organization. So it has to happen by design. It cannot be like a party for all. And of course, how to do it, there are different ways, different methodologies, frameworks, and a lot of other things. But the one approach that I like, and I think might be very interesting because of how it thinks about it, is this one. And it says, okay, let's franchise the digital delivery. So you have the IT department who is creating the software now, and it can basically give a license to others to create it as well. But if you look how these franchising networks work, it's not just telling everyone, well, you can do it yourself or however you want. But first, you have to give the others some tools, some know-how, some processes, and you also have to control the quality and be sure that there are no prevent risks and other things. So this has to happen in IT as well. So the central IT, the enterprise IT, will have to give tools to other teams, but they will also have to control them and to help them and give them the methodology and other things. And this has to be planned. There have to be programs designed for how to basically handle these things to other teams than the enterprise IT. And I have the list of things that have to happen, for this franchising to be successful. But what I think is the most important is basically agreeing with different CXOs, whoever that is, basically with the management on the shared risk and shared responsibilities. Because without that, all those other teams, they basically see, enterprise IT as someone who is going to, block their work. So these teams see it as, okay, I will build here something, and then the central IT will come to me and tell me, okay, you cannot do this, and this is wrong, and you should fix this. And so I'm not going to show it to them at all. I'm going to hide it, something we used to call shadow IT, right? But if you agree that that CXO, who is responsible for that, has the risks in it, and that it's his responsibility that it will work, it will be secure, it will be always up to date, it will be always functioning, then he will, explain it to his people, and they start to ask for help from central IT. And this is that mindset change that has to happen in order for all other things to work. So when we talk about this democratized delivery, we also have one other term that we are hearing quite often, and it's digital mindset. And when you talk about digital mindset, a lot of things define it in different ways. But what I like as a definition is basically that it is the ability to imagine digital solutions. So if someone comes and they have this, old paper process based on some paper forms, and they will digitize that process, for some people, what they do, they just take that form and copy it one-to-one to a web page with all the fields and all the checkboxes and everything. And they mimic the process in systems, but they mimic that original process. And of course, this is a bad way how to digitize, because you should first think what possibilities this digital way of doing that process brings you. And maybe you will find out that you can skip the whole 1/3 of the process, because you have a lot of data already available and you can pull them together. And you don't even need to pre-fill that form, because you might not work with that form at all. You just ask the people directly a few questions, and that form is only a data object that lives on the background, and it's basically the data of the process. So it really needs you to re-engineer the whole process. But who's going to re-engineer it? It's not going to be the central IT, it's going to be all the different business departments, and they have to be able to imagine that new process. And there was an interesting study done that basically measured the level of digital mindset of different roles in the company or different people in the company, and it compared it with the proficiency in using technologies. And what's very interesting, that the output is diagonal. What does it say? It says that those people that are good in using technologies, they can imagine how to digitize things and how to improve things in the digital world in a much better way than those that are not using the technologies. And I have heard a lot of discussions that were focusing on how to increase the digital mindset of people in the company. And the answer suggested by this research is basically, well, don't increase the digital mindset by some, trainings and courses and other things, but increase the use of the technologies, and then the people will come to it by themselves. So let's talk about the third trend, and it's acquisition of new technologies. It's been ever present. In the past years, how long I remember, there have always been technologies that were on the hype, and the companies were trying to use them. It was cloud, it was blockchain, it was metaverse, it is AI, it was social networks and other things. And some of them were successful, some of them were not that successful. I would say that not that they are dead, but they are not being that much deployed as expected. That's the case for metaverse and blockchain, for example. But I think with AI, it's going to be the technology that is going to be deployed, as the cloud is. It might take some time. I don't know how fast it will be. For cloud, it took, 15 years to really, for the companies to pick the technology and switch to cloud. So you'll see how fast the AI will be. So this year I'm going to talk about artificial intelligence, obviously, because that's the biggest new technology that we are all trying to grasp. So when we talk about artificial intelligence, it's a lot, really a lot, about a human and machine relationship, about how we interact with machines, with computer systems and other things. Because AI is going to bring the completely next level into this. And I have a small parallel here, because if you would think about the computers in 1990s, for example, and you would tell Bill Gates that every child 2 years old would be able to use computers without not even knowing how to read and write. Well, he was a visionary, maybe he could agree with you, but a lot of people would be surprised and wouldn't believe you. Nowadays, it's a reality. These toddlers, playing with tablets and having no issues with that. Why is that? Because the interface, how that computer talks to us, has changed. Instead of mouse and keyboard, now we have the touch screens. So it enabled the whole new use of the technology and the whole new way how people can use it and who can use it. And I think the AI will actually do the same transformation of how we approach technology and knowledge and working with data and other things. And what's very interesting here, that actually how it changes our expectations. Because if you have the kids and they come to a screen which is not touchable, you touch it and nothing happens, all the kids will tell you, well, it's broken, it doesn't work. And in the future, it will be the same with AI. You would expect that every application, every device, every interface you have will have a voice interface or chat interface that you could talk to. And you would expect that every chatbot you meet somewhere online will be able to answer you correctly or answer you at all, which is definitely not true today. But the expectation will evolve very quickly. And if you will not be able to provide to that expectation, then you will obviously fail. And okay, why is it? Because once all the devices and applications will start to grow their intelligence, and because AI is such broadly available to everyone to develop, I think that this change in expectation will come very fast, and we need to get ready for that. Okay, let's now look at this topic of artificial intelligence inside of the companies. There is a very interesting data about how CEOs of the largest international companies see AI. And there have been several questions answered, and you can see that most of the CEOs, more than half of the CEOs, think that it will really change their business. Almost half of all the directors and top management is actively using AI. And what's the most interesting, the whole quarter of CEOs would consider using deepfake videos of themselves to be able to attend multiple meetings in one time. So this is very funny, right? But what this really shows is that this is very new technology, AI, right? I mean, the generative AI. AI has been here for more than 20 years, but generative AI is new. And what it says that there is very rapid acceptation of this technology between the CEOs, and there are not that many other technologies that got accepted that fast. I mean, the last one was iPads, or were iPads. So it's really going to make a difference, and it will be rolled out into companies quite fast. But what's very interesting and good to be aware of that is actually what the CIOs talking about on the board level when they are talking about AI. And if you look at the data, you have the most common topics that they discuss. You can see that most often they talk about AI as being opportunity for growth, to increase revenue, increase customer satisfaction, get more customers, sell more goods or services. And of course, they also talk about optimization, reduction of operation costs, saving on people, replacing people. But that's definitely not number one. But when we think, inside of the company, inside of IT, and inside of business departments, what to do with AI, we quite often think about, okay, what can we automate using AI? Where can we, save costs? How can we, speed up some process and eliminate people from it? But we shouldn't look this way. We should look more into how this AI technology can help us grow, how it will bring new opportunities, new possibilities for our business. And this is the discussion that is sometimes hidden somewhere behind, and we are trying to focus only on optimization. So this is a very good perspective, and I hope it will change the way how you think about AI. So if I have to generalize this, it's basically there are already two types of AIs. One is everyday AI, and the second one is transformative AI. I've been talking about everyday AI, and let's have a look on that for a moment, and then we will go to the transformative AI. Everyday AI, it's basically about productivity increase. How to increase the productivity of the company so you can have more margin or be more competitive on the market. And this is very interesting graph that no one really can fully interpret what's been going on, but you can see the time axis here, and this is actually year-to-year growth in the productivity measured in some way. It's not perfect, but somehow. And you can see that in 60s, 70s, there was really, the productivity was growing 8% a year in different geographies. And it's slowing and slowing and slowing. I'm not saying that we are decreasing our productivity. It is still growing, but only by single percentage. And this, what is it, UK, it's even going below zero. So, and no one really knows why, because since 90s you have all these computers, IT systems, all the digital things, digitization, automation in place, and still the productivity is growing less and less and less fast. No one really knows, but everybody thinks that AI can help to turn the trend and boost the productivity increase again. And there are people that are basically saying, yes, it will increase the productivity between 5 and 20% a year. It can really be a huge increase. And why? They say because AI is unique compared to all other technologies. First, technology usually helps only those that are really well educated and can take use of the technology. And people say here that AI is the opposite. It is actually giving access to technology and to knowledge and to data to people that are not good with technology. We will see if it is true, because you now see the explosion of this prompt engineering and other things, which actually again favor those that know how to do it. But you'll see. It will become mainstream very quickly. Everybody is looking at it. There are so many tools available for playing and building things on top of AI. What's a danger here is basically if you look only at everyday AI in the company and you implement all the copilots and you automate some process and other things, it will help you, but you will not win against your competitors, because everybody will do the same. And very quickly, all these extraordinary AI things will become completely normal. So everybody will use it. Of course, if you don't deploy it, it will harm yourself and you can actually lose compared to your competitors. But I don't think you can win on this. But you need to do it. So you need to look everywhere you can apply the everyday AI, and you need to strive for applying it as much as possible. We did, or not we did, but I studied an interesting study that was actually looking at the productivity increase of the developers when they develop a code and they are using GitHub Copilot, and how much they can improve their productivity. So it was a large group of developers, and they were split into two halves. One group was using the Copilot, the second one was not using the Copilot. Now the question is, what was the productivity increase of that Copilot using group? And the interesting is that it was not that much as we would think, because using Copilot could only save 70 minutes per week of one developer, which, if you calculate it, it's not much. Its productivity increases of only 3%. I mean, it's still a good number. I mean, if you could increase the productivity of your company by 3%, it will really, make a difference in your margin. So that's not something that you would want to, ignore, but it's not, 20% increase or 50% increase in productivity as the people are promising. So I think, again, this is something that the expectations are way too high and we will come down to reality, but, the increase is there. So it's everyday AI. Now let's look on transformative AI. Transformative AI, it's not about automation and productivity. It's about creativity. It's actually how to apply AI of any kind to help you basically find new added value, new products, new services, how to innovate your business, to sell something different or to, have basically a different business model. I wanted to show some examples of how AI is creating these new business models, but it's hard because we are at the beginning. But what I can show you is the companies that are already hit or will be soon hit by generative AI, and they should be afraid of their business model. And I have some of them here, some obvious logos. But if you think about Google, and you can see it, how hard they are trying to enter this generative AI market, because if you will really start to use AI chatbots for looking for information, the whole system, how Google now monetizes his search engine and the page visits and everything will collapse, and they have to come up with something else. So it's threatening their very core business model. I have here a logo of one university. So for the universities, the bachelor thesis works used to have a theoretical part where you do a research of existing materials and existing knowledge, and you write it down, and then you have this practical part where you try to extend the theoretical knowledge to something new. And actually, the university here in Prague, they just dropped the theoretical part because they said it is so easy with generative AI to create a theoretical part. It does not really make sense to give it as a task to students. So we will be focusing, instead of writing this thesis reports, we will focusing more on practical projects where the students will have to show that they are able to apply this technology or this knowledge to something practical. So it's actually changing the way how the university is working. Then I have, for example, Shutterstock. Shutterstock should be very afraid of their business model, right? Because now they are providing some images for the presentations, other things. We used to have a subscription for them as well, but nowadays it's much faster for me to have the image for the presentation being generated than to look through some archive. So Shutterstock should be afraid, and of course all the photographers that made the living by creating these illustrative pictures for Shutterstock, because their business might really end from month to month. It won't be years or decades. It will be from month to month that they will be out of the business. Another one is Instagram. I was thinking a lot about Instagram, and the point of the Instagram is to show people in little better light than how they are. So if you are trying to make yourself better and to show off. And until now it worked because it was so hard to manipulate the reality to show you a little better. But with generative AI, I mean, you can do anything very easily. So the idea of showing yourself off as being perfect, if you can generate those perfect images in, I wouldn't say a few seconds, but easily, it really is the question if the Instagram with its business model will survive this change. So we see some companies already being impacted. The question is how you will be impacted and what new opportunities it will bring, because now I'm talking about destroying, not creating, but AI or this transformative AI will really be about creating. How to get ready for that? If you are CIO or CTO or whatever, a chief digital officer in the company, I have this. There are these three suggestions that will make you laugh, I think, because you only need three things: risk tolerance, patience, and a lot of money. no one really knows where it will lead to, so it's a lot about experimentation. But as CIO, you really can get ready because you can, help to prepare the playground, I would say, define some principles, how to handle things, support experiments, create the environment for it, get data ready so that it can be used for AI, implement new operations that will support the machine learning and generative AI and other things. So we can help the company, but in the end, it will be about this. What's next in AI? Often people ask me. So what I think is the next is actually AI coming into the devices, because now it's, the thing of a data center that you interact with. But everybody is trying now to put AI chips into devices, into laptops and smartphones. And, a lot of companies are showing off, the capability of running the LLMs in the device. And actually, even Gartner said that almost 1/4 of all PCs and smartphones shipped this year will already have some chips for local AI. But on the other hand, the computing power available by these electronics is way too low for a practical use of it. So I think we are still like 1-2 years or generations of these electronics away from being able to really work with large language models locally. Because if you would take that large language model, let's say ChatGPT or something similar, and you would run it on the most powerful hardware you can get, local one, it will be painfully slow. I have heard that it would be able to generate about 7 tokens a minute. So it means not even 7 words a minute when you chat with it, which is definitely not useful. So the evolution will come to more powerful chips, but it will also come to working with lower, smaller language models, because quite often you can compare really huge language model with a small one. And for that certain task that you need it for, especially in the enterprise environment, quite often you can see that that small LLM behaves almost as good as the large one. So we can use the small one with all these, energy savings and other things. So this is going to be the battlefield of the future. And once it happens, I think this is really a revolution, because what we will come up with is really responsive and intelligent devices that can interact with us in this new imperative, as I was showing about that touch screen compared to keyboard and mouse. But AI, it's not always just a bright future and everything. There are so many risks around that, and I like this term of digital paranoia, if you have heard it as well. And basically, what it says is that you won't be able to trust anything. I have some examples here. I start with, this is Czech president. It doesn't really matter. What I want to illustrate here is there have been some investment scam where a deep fake of him was promoting some investment platform, and it really went viral. So 5% of population of Czech Republic saw this video before it was stopped. And there are so many others with Elon Musk now promoting some quantum investment platform and other things. And this is going to happen more and more often. So we won't be able to, to differentiate if the person talking is real or not. And there are so many videos on the internet, you can see it for yourself. Another way how to show it, how far we've got already, is Indiana Jones movie. If you have seen the last Indiana Jones movie, you probably didn't notice, but actually the first 15 minutes of the movie, there is a young Harrison Ford acting in those scenes. Now the question is how they have made the movie, right? If he's not young anymore, it's because he was generated or modified from his acting, so he looks completely young, and you wouldn't, tell that the difference. So it completely fools you. You don't even stop about thinking that it's actually not a real actor playing, but it is some generation, a computer generation. And the third one, it's connected with the Instagram. As I said, because now you can generate the pictures that there is no way how to tell if they are real or not. I mean, this woman is not real. And the thing is that there are people that are generating these images and they are creating the profiles on Instagram and other social networks, and they are having followers and making money of that by posting these pictures and pretending they are, someone else. And even if they are not pretending, there have been these stories of Swedish, students from university that created some blonde girl, and they even stated that she's not real, but still, because the pictures were so nice, people were following them, and they were even sending money and other things. So, especially on the social networks, your ability to tell what is real and what is not will be almost zero, I think. And this is something we call digital paranoia, because suddenly we cannot, believe anything. And it leads us to some questions. Will there be some certifications, like official ones, saying, I'm human, or it was created by humans? I have already heard about some initiatives. Meta has announced that Facebook will be tagging the pictures that were generated by something. But I'm really skeptical, because I don't think that the algorithm can tell the difference. Even OpenAI released a tool for differentiating if the text was written by ChatGPT or if it was written by a person. It was a big announcement in the beginning, and then without any notice, they basically discontinued this product because they were it did not work, so they couldn't differentiate the things. But if we fast forward a little bit into the future, what will happen? You will have so much content generated by AI that will the deep learning work? If the deep learning works on the texts on the internet, but suddenly half of the text will be generated by AI, so AI will be learning on itself. So whatever was wrong or mistaken or hallucinated, it will it will get stronger and stronger, because it will learn from these hallucinations and create new hallucinations. So is it possible that we won't have enough genuine data to actually train in the future? And another question, will we trust AI-produced code? If there is this Git copilot, will we trust the code that was created using that Git? And now I'm not talking about some Terminator scenarios where the AI will inject something to harm us, but simply, developers are lazy as everyone else. So when they get the code generated, and if it works, will they spend time, inspecting what it really does inside? If there are not some features that they wouldn't want to be there, I don't think so. They will just test it against the defined scenarios. It works, so let's use it. So it's going to be quite a question if we will be able to actually trust that software. And the last, glimpse into the future for AI is something which has been here around quite long as well, but it's getting stronger, I think, and it's AI-augmented humans. You have probably heard about Elon Musk having this Neuralink company trying to implant the neural chips to communicate directly with the brain. Actually, Elon Musk, he's a good marketer, but this is not a new technology, and there have been companies that already are doing this for some years, Synchron and others, so he's definitely not the first one. He's just, popularizing it a lot. And but when I saw this, and then I hit this sentence, get closer than ever to your customers, so close that you tell them what they need well before they realize it themselves. You know who said this? It's actually Steve Jobs. But when you take this and this together, it start to get to be a little bit freaky, right? Because how far are we from people being controlled by AI? Because AI, it needs data, right? All the AI is powered by data. So will AI control people to actually get and gather data for it? And you may say, oh, this is sci-fi. How would anybody, collect data for AI without, wanting to? But we are not that far away. Actually, it's happening already. You just don't know it because you didn't notice. But have you seen the CAPTCHAs on some websites? Those things that, tell you if you are a person or, it's like an anti-robot protection on the websites. In the past, it was giving you some smuggled text that you had to retype. But then suddenly it switched and it was, showing you some tiles and it was asking things like, okay, choose all the, traffic lights or, choose all the bicycles and other questions. Do you know why? Why these type of tasks? Because this is actually how Google trains its autonomous driving. So basically, without you knowing, you are actually training the AI of Google for autonomous driving because you are helping them, identify the features in the pictures. So it's already happening. It just doesn't go through your brain. But how far are we from this? Well, I'm coming to the end of the presentation. So the question is what the future will be, what the future of technology will be, what the future trends will be. Well, I don't know. It's hard to tell. No one really knows. But what I do know is that the technology is really evolving fast. That fast that we will see a lot of things in the future that we can't predict. And I have this for that. This is moon landing, and this is the first powered flight by Wright brothers. You know how far in the time they are? It's only 66 years. So in one lifespan. So if you think about what I was talking about, the AI and all the other things, I mean, this is not like the greatest moment in the 21st century. I mean, a lot of new technologies will come, technologies that we cannot foresee at all, and it will come in our lifespan. But it's up to us to decide if we will use those technologies for good or for bad. And especially with AI, this is very, very actual, this question. But I am optimist, and I think in the past there have been so many dangers for humanity, and humanity always managed to, fight those dangers and evolve to a better future. So I think that we will do the same. So thank you for your time, and see you sometimes.